Well, it is that time again, everybody. Hope you are doing well. My name is BirdDogJon, and I am back in action.
In those scenarios,
Yep.
it's good to neuralize the cameras. You guys know that best.
Very straightforward. Plug it in, go to the web UI, link the source, walk away. You know, like super simple. I keep looking over at the chat, and I keep seeing you are full of it. Tasty, spicy meat snacks. Covered in flavor. I mean, you can't go wrong. So what's going on? We've got a handful of folks here in the chat, and I really appreciate that. What's up, mate? Hey, Warren, how are you? Appreciate it. Hey, Robbie, how's it going, man? We were just talking about you. What's going on, Tom? Ahoy. How is it going? What's going on, Go Web? Good to see you again. Thanks for hanging out with us again today. Appreciate that. Feel like I'm in this video more than anyone but John. It's true, NetApp. You are. I'm going to cut this up and put this in the next intro.
Here we go.
It is true. I have returned after long last. What's going on, everybody? I am known as BirdDogJon, and yeah, here I am back in the booth, ready to get to the end of the new year, or end of the rest of the year. I don't have any other plans of going anywhere, at least during the work weeks. So, yeah, we're back, and we'll be back at least for the time being. So as long as they keep me on the air and they haven't given me the hook yet to get me off camera, yeah, here I am. So glad you could join us. Thanks so much, everybody, for hanging out with us. Really excited to be back with you and to be able to chat a little bit about what is going on in your NDI worlds. And so we'll spend some time doing that. What's going on, Angus? Good morning. I appreciate that. Thank you. I am indeed back. Of course, I'm not organized. That would be way too much to ask. Haven't done that. Haven't got like the little heat map check-in. Haven't even turned on screen capture yet. Now, what have I been up to? You know, you would think that I would be all set and organized after having all this time away, but lo and behold, it's still me, and I'm not that organized. So hopefully let's sort this out here. I'm gonna go and reset the form and pull up the chart. And okay, that looks good. So now, oh, whoops, I guess I need to turn the form on, right? Because we're not accepting requests. So, okay, accepting responses is on. And so now I'll turn on my little QR code here, and that should start working for you. And then if we are so inclined, we will hopefully be able to see people slowly appear on my my ongoing heat map. So there you go, everybody. This is good old Google Forms, turning it into Google Sheets and then showing the results via a map. So I figured out how to reproduce this over and over and over. And yeah, there is Angus. So checking in as usual. Appreciate that, man. Thanks for following along, playing the game. So it has been a busy week. So I was away last week for Tuesday, Thursdays for our show, mostly because I was on PTO, which was basically the second time this year that I did that, where I took a week away. And they just happened to kind of be both at the same time. So the first time I was down in Nashville with my family, doing some work for a couple of organizations that I'm associated with down there. And then I was in Northern Ontario last week in a small town called Temagami. And I wasn't in the town. I was just in the region, we'll say. So I was in Temagami doing some camping. And so that was a great trip, and we had a lot of fun. Only got rained out on Monday of last week, and so it wasn't even like really a rain out. Thankfully, it didn't rain all week, but Northern Ontario has needed rain all summer, and so now it's finally kind of accumulating a little bit. So that's been good that they've been getting their rain and less fires, and so that means less smoke in the U.S. because it was getting a little bit weird. So the sky was filled with like very eerie colors. So thanks a lot, Quebec. Thanks for nothing. What's going on, Stephen? Hey, welcome back. I gotta admit, it was a bit strange not having these streams to watch while you were gone. It was best of repeat time. Yeah, I should have totally scheduled, like made a little clip show or something of me just goofing off, because sometimes that's all this is. And you can schedule shows. So if I'm more sophisticated in the future, and you know, when my schedule frees up, I'll start cutting up shows like that and having something to watch just to create consistency. But that wasn't It wasn't in the cards this time, but I definitely appreciate you saying that that you missed the show, because that means a lot, and it's always nice to know that people value what it is that we're up to. So, ooh, I don't like that shot. I do have a new thing to try here on Snacks on Stream, and this is just a sidebar. It's basically John Eats Lunch. But somebody brought in fried pickle ranch flavored wavy potato chips. That's a mouthful. And hopefully it will be a mouthful. But they've had rave reviews in the office so far. I haven't tried them yet, so we're going to try that out. I believe it's maybe Costco or Sam's Club. I can't remember. But I'm sure BirdDog Brayton will correct me, because he's the one that brought them in, I believe. So looking forward to that. And we'll do that a little bit later in the show. But definitely, whoa, you guys are jumping in all over the map here. Okay, so let's jump back to the heat map. Look at you. All over the place. Is this a dot out in like Hawaii? No way. Wellington? Dude, that is so stinking cool. Somebody over in New Zealand? Oh, Wellington. Okay. Oh, it's the same dot. Okay, I was like, wait, what's going on here? But Hawaii's up here. So that's okay. So this is in New Zealand. That's cool. Yeah, really, really neat stuff.
How neat is that?
I just finished up a pretty big event, nearly 120 inputs. Oh my goodness, into vMix, up to 20 layers on the screen at one time. A very large LAN party for gamers. We had multiple people streaming their games to my vMix machine, with one person as the primary stream, plus up to about 5 picture-in-picture shots on. Oh my goodness. Yikes, man. That's an insane amount of inputs. I have just begun to play with layers inside vMix, and so I've triggered those inside of my X keys, which I'm actually. So I used to think, right? You've heard me say this. I used to think, like Stream Deck, there's, once you get a Stream Deck, like it doesn't really have any reason for X keys, but that is silly, because X keys allows you to do some pretty sophisticated stuff, and although it's not LCDs or LEDs or whatever. LCD screens, they do have LEDs inside, and it's way simpler to use an X keys in many regards, especially when controlling vMix, than it is to integrate it across the Stream Deck. And so you can add these like cool little overlays that are pretty easy to use, and then I can just push a button and it does it as a timed thing, and I don't have to use StreamYard. I mean, to StreamYard's credit, okay, StreamYard has some great features if you're just getting into streaming, right? Like this sort of thing is from StreamYard. And so we can throw that on the screen, and you know where to find me on the internet. We can do these like scrolling things that have like a little bit of information, or we can plug the greatest of all time, the GOAT of NDI streaming, Tom Sinclair's show, who has a show on Wednesdays, by the way, that you should tune into. Tom Sinclair has a show, and he, so I can throw his info up here. I can make these really fast too. So if somebody asks me, hey, what's your mailing address? I can type that in there and then throw it up on the screen real quick. And it's a fast way to do that. However, for things like these overlays that have a little bit more information on them, and I think that they kind of work a little bit better for what I want to do, and I just want to hit a button and keep going, the overlay is the answer here. So yeah, I'm just getting into it. But I really love my little X keys, so it's good stuff. We had multiple local cameras, a mix of BirdDog and other branded NDI HX and security cameras. Figured out how to get my BirdDog keyboard to track the camera on my preview bus by way of Joe DeMax central control. Oh, cool. X keys for the win. See, yeah, I agree. Like it definitely has its place. I mean, Stream Deck is nice too, but honestly, I use this Stream Deck device now for mostly sound effects. I don't actually use it. The only thing I do use it for is fading music up and down in the sound effects. I don't use it for anything else. So it's it's weird that it's handy for the soundboard, but also I just find my X keys to be a little bit more useful when it comes to the vMix thing, and that's just a personal preference. That's not saying one thing or another. It's just personal preference. A friend of mine works as a TD for the NHL games. Oh, cool. Plus various other broadcasters and pro sporting events. There's nobody here but us chickens. What's going on, NetHab? Welcome back. Appreciate it. Thanks for checking in. Always fun to have you guys hanging out with us. as usual. I'm gonna put my mouse over here. Okay. And then he became an X Keys convert as soon as I showed him mine. He bought the 124 T bar to control a Blackmagic ATEM. Ooh, 2ME switcher. Very cool. Ooh. More on that later. I built an AMD 7950X machine for this event. Had to replace the motherboard mid-show. Oh, yikes. But with all those inputs running, my vMix render times were hovering between 3 and 9 milliseconds. Whoa, that's crazy, man. Morning, John. I do have a few questions this morning. What's going on, Tash? Welcome to the show. Always a pleasure to have you on. And while Tash is getting ready, oh, hey. That's a terrible shot now because there's a big microphone pole, which isn't required right in the road. But I'll figure out something else for that. I'm about to move some things around in here because I think I'm moving into this office. And so we'll get that kind of squared away. Also, this camera shot looks a little bit like low bandwidthy, but it isn't, according to vMix. So I don't know what's going on with that. Good stuff. Good stuff. We can't go one show without somebody asking about the X120. Looks like the X120 is pretty much the same as the P120, but can see if it can ingest audio. Is that possible? That I don't know, actually. Let's double check. Let's double check that real quick because I thought I can look up some internal documentation. It's hard to say. I mean, I think I can tell you what the intention is, but I cannot say for certain, mostly because until it's real, until it's in the wild and people are using them, yeah, I don't know if that's going to be possible. I don't know if I can like speak with any level of authority on it. So, however, if there is anything in here, okay, so I'm actually going to say no. I'm actually going to say no. That the audio bit well, hang on. There's nothing on the site, on the X120 site, that says anything about audio. Because there's no audio port. However, there is something on the site that mentions audio mute, which is interesting. So nothing on the overview page. I'm going to swing over to the documentation. Yeah, there's nothing on here about audio input. Nothing. So I'm going to say no. That may not be an option on the X120. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't plan on it, mostly because there's no mention of it on the website. Now I will go to the documentation. All right, I'm gonna have to go to the internal documentation because it would appear that there's nothing on the site yet. So let me see what I can find out for you and find out what is going on with the X120 and see if I can come up with any information from our team. Oh, you know where I can go? I know what I can do. I have access to the project manager information. So I won't be able to tell you any trade secrets, but I will mention if I see something that indicates there's audio, I can let you know that. But if they're trying to work on it or develop it and it's not done yet, then I would say don't plan on it until it's real, right? It's a safe way to hedge your bets, especially if you're planning out future projects, is never plan a project with a product that doesn't exist yet. Okay, so we're going to talk about the X120 and let me see what I can come up with. Oh, whoops, that's my own project. All right, engineering. Some cool stuff in here. I'm not allowed to tell you, but there's some cool stuff. However, I don't see anything about audio. And so I'm going to go out on a limb here and say I wouldn't plan on it. There is no audio ingest on the X120 as of yet. I don't even see a port to allow for that. So, yeah, there's no mention of audio on this project. It would probably be a nightmare doing that over Wi-Fi anyway, so that's probably intentional. I have Access Manager because on all of I have Access Manager because on all of the possible and the ICE sources I may use, and I have all possible sources pointing to a discovery server on my laptop plugged into the network. Is it true that ideally you don't want to run Discovery Server and Access Manager on the same machine? Sorry, I tried dictating that question and it wasn't accurate. Happens to me all the time, man. Where is the best place to have Discovery Server? Should it ever be on a TriCaster? Okay, so one of the ways that I believe New Tech advises that you can use it is to run it on TriCaster. I don't think that you should shy away from that option. However, be sure you test before you put it into production, right? Now, NDI 5 permits redundant discovery servers. However, BirdDog doesn't have that integrated. So if you're using BirdDog products, then you may need to avoid that. However, the in a perfect world where money is no object and everything works all the time, we would prefer to have the programs that we write and create all functioning on their own independent machines. Now, I realize that's not reality, so don't jump down my throat yet. Discovery Server is a fairly lightweight program. The piece that I hesitate with Discovery Server and other programs running together is that I don't know what processes would cause it to unexpectedly quit. You know what I mean? Like I'd be nervous because if I fire up Multiviewer Pro and I fire up Discovery Server, or if I fire up, you would think Discovery Server and Access Manager could work together because they kind of have to work in tandem anyway. But in a perfect world, you'd have everything on its own machine or a virtual machine. But the reality is that I suspect you can run Access Manager. Now, Access Manager, all you're doing there is changing the root files. And so you shouldn't have to run Access Manager. You open Access Manager, you make your changes, and you hit OK, and it writes those changes to the NDI database. That's the NDI 5 database that's located on the computer, the actual library. That's what Access Manager is doing. So you don't have to run it. It shouldn't have a running function. But once you change the settings in Access Manager, you should be able to run Discovery Server on top of that, because Access Manager, in order for the changes to take effect, you have to hit OK, and then it writes those changes to the library. So in that regard, I don't think that you should have any issue or worry about it not working correctly, mostly because you shouldn't have to run Access Manager per se. It should, you make your changes and then you hit OK, and then Access Manager, the program, closes and makes those changes to the NDI library. So steer me if I'm going off in a direction that's not applicable here, but that's how Access Manager works. And then Discovery Server could run on that machine then. That would be fine. I don't think Discovery Server running on, unless you're running out of hard drive space on a TriCaster, I don't think that should be an issue. Discovery Server doesn't use a ton of space, but you're going to run into unexpected errors in Windows if you're running out of hard drive space. So be careful with what it is that you're doing. But I think you should be okay if you run on a TriCaster. I think you could be okay if you run on a machine that you're managing Access Manager with. So there you go. Is there any camera in the PTZ range that can ingest audio from an Audinate AV IO USB adapter? Not in our fleet. Yeah. Yeah, not in our fleet. It's so funny you mentioned this because I've been playing with a Dante AVIO. This is not a USB adapter, but this is a input adapter, 2-channel analog. Just been monkeying around with Dante Bridge a bit, partially for my own education, and also because we're creating some educational material and I need to know what I'm talking about. So we have a couple of these in the office. I got one running off of the back of a TriCaster, a TC1, and it's converting audio to Dante. And then I'm using Bridge then to turn that back into an NDI audio stream. However, I need to have a chat probably with Mr. Jake because I'm doing it wrong. So I need a little Dante education and then get that sorted out. Dan said on the Facebook group that there might be a release date for the X120 announced within the next 2 weeks. This was a week ago. Hope you get to be the announcer. Oh, well, wouldn't that be nice? However, I can almost guarantee you that won't be because Dan is super excited about the X120. And so he will definitely want to make that announcement. And he has every right to do that. So I'm just excited when that announcement is going to happen. I will be sitting in the audience ready to go. So yeah, I won't be the announcer, that's for sure. But maybe he'll want to use this platform or StreamYard or whatever, which is totally fine. Happy to host it for him if he wants to do that. But I will not be the one making that announcement. That will be Mr. Mile, that is for sure. Our CEO, Chief Executive Officer. I did some NDI troubleshooting on this event. Ooh, I couldn't see my cameras and my 10 gig NIC wouldn't pull an IP from an M4250. Fascinating. Due to the scheduling mix-up, I couldn't restart vMix to test anything. I was able to work out that the issue was a duplicated IP on the other side of my firewall. After sorting that out, vMix still wouldn't see any sources on the 4250 network. So I started NDI Bridge locally and set it to not transcode and had no trouble seeing everything. And it passed NDI in and out of vMix with no hassles whatsoever. Interesting. The P240 has XLR inputs, right? The P240 does, but you need to buy the dongle that gives you those XLR inputs. So it's the same one. It's the same dongle that is it. I'm going to get the company wrong. One moment, please. B&H Photo. I've looked this up a bunch of times, and I can never remember. Whoops. Is it? Oh my goodness. Can't remember. Oh, wait, is that it? Everybody help me out here. Which is it? I'll know it as soon as I see it because I've looked this silly thing up so much. I don't actually have one, mostly because they're expensive. Oh, hey, there's the USB audio to Dante adapter that you were just talking about. This is really annoying that I can't remember what this thing is called. It's the same adapter that you need that's from, it's either Atmos or Black Magic. No, it's one of these third-party companies. I can never remember. I'll just keep typing things in until I come across it. Well, maybe I could just look up the P240 and maybe there's a link on that site. P240. Here is recommended accessories. Why isn't it in that list? Accessories. Ceiling mount, tripod kit, This is interesting stuff. Maybe B&H doesn't sell it. Oh my goodness. I can't remember. Atmos. Somebody says it's Atmos. What's going on, Laura? How are you? Welcome back. Hey, does Cam Control work with NDI Bridge or BirdDog Cloud? That's a great question about BirdDog Cloud. I haven't tested that one. Does Cam Control work with NDI Bridge? So you mean like controlling settings of cameras in remote locations at the production booth with Cam Control? Is that what you're talking about? I don't know. I have to test that before I would be comfortable saying that. It would be sweet if it did, but I don't know. That's an interesting workflow idea. You know who might know that is Mr. Jake. Oh, here we go. Atmos cable. Okay, so let me look this up so I can share this. You know what's really annoying is when you type in Atmos cable, you get a bunch of HDMI cables. Here we go. See, I should remember that Frank is on this show and that he's going to know because he has to type this to customers all the time. So I'm going to jump over to Twitch. You know, the audio. Oh, there it is. All right, cool. So, yeah, I hadn't even checked the audio here, which I have now done. So how do I copy this? Copy? There's no copy function. Hey, thanks for nothing, StreamYard. When people put links in the chat, I can click on them to show them, but I can't click on them to like click on them. So that's fun. Anyways, I will check that out. And oh, that's what I missed. Ah, there are the Atmos cables. Okay, cool. Whoa, they have a whole bunch of like self-branded HDMI cables. That's interesting. Here it is. The XLR breakout cable. Yay! All right, let me share this. Yay. I'm really excited. I don't know why. It shouldn't have taken me that long to find this. Shout out to Frank for helping us out here. So this is the cable that you need. And it's just a breakout cable, 10-pin breakout cable that gives you basically left, right, in and out. So that's how you do that with the 240. It's I also don't know. I feel like you would need to rig this up so it didn't hang off the back of the camera. You know what I mean? Like, I think that this is fine, but that looks like an awful lot like it's a small connection for all this weight. If you were to plug in 4 XLR cables to this, holy smokes, you would need to secure it to the side of the yeah, you need to secure it to the side. Yeah, a little strain relief. This would be a nightmare to solder. Fair enough. Fair enough. Hey, another question. With Access Manager Discovery Server running, do I still need to open port 5959 and 5960 and yada yada for any active NDI sources? It depends. Those sources typically, you only need to really open those ports if your network is locked down. And like I have never had to go in, although that's not true. I did open them for cloud stuff, but I've never had to go in on a LAN network and actually open those ports. That shouldn't be necessary. So I would say out of the gates, MTash, no. But if you find differently, I would be very interested to know that. So please let me know if you do. I don't think you should, unless your network is locked down. Unless you have an IT department that's like messing with you and you don't control the network, then I could understand why you might have to do that. You could also pretend that Dante for hardware isn't dead on the vine. It isn't? I don't know what you're talking about. Dante for hardware is not dead. I just don't know. They haven't put any programming time behind it because there's been a few things that they've wanted to get out sooner than later. And so although Dante for hardware was a big announcement, I don't know when they're planning on actually finishing up that project. Now, I could vouch for that. Let me look here. in the projects. And there's actually in the camera module a Dante task. So there, yeah. So Dante for hardware is still here, still open and ready to be looked at. So I don't think that's not dead on the vine. I can vouch for that. And I'm not reading what is being said in the project, but I can confirm for you that it is in the project for the managers to delegate to engineers. And so that's not dead on the vine. So not to worry. It's just not happening like now. It's a future project. I won't even let a network cable off the back of my cameras. I'm absolutely strict about strain relief. See, and those are the things that people like you're going to do as a part of your production and no one will appreciate. I will appreciate it, but no one will appreciate it. It'll save your cameras and it'll save your network ports and it'll do a whole bunch of stuff, but there is a reason why in every camera there's usually a little like care package, and in there are some Velcro ties, cable relief right there, man, and a little BirdDog branding to go with it. So little swag for you as you purchase your BirdDog cameras. BirdDog Cloud. Can I view the web UI of remote cameras, or do I need to set up a VPN? You need to set up a VPN. The web UI doesn't come across. It's just the NDI feed that comes across BirdDog Cloud. NDI feed, video, audio, metadata, tally, all that comes across, but not the web UI. You would need a VPN to see the web UI itself. Let a network cable hang, rather. Good old strain relief. Will the PTZ battery mount fit on a tripod? Wow, these are some great questions, guys. The camera mount, the battery mount, I believe does let the thread pass through. So if I were to go to, do we have that up here? Why? All right. I will head back over to, actually, you know what? No, I can do this internally. Shared with you. I want to find X120 battery. I do believe that the battery mount does have a pass-through for the threads so that you can mount it on a tripod. That I'm pretty certain of. My 13-year-old nephew was helping me out because the other ones do. My 13-year-old was helping me with the event. He helped me strain relief my cameras. Excellent. Always good, that child labor. I mean, volunteers. The phrase is, it's in the to-do list. It's true. Is course 7 dead? It seems to be silent. Oh, there seems to be silence on it. There just hasn't been any announcement on course 7. That I don't know. I can go back into the projects and see. I don't even know where that project would be found. Let's see here if I can find it. Not there. That is, no, that's the encoders, SDM, Bird UI, cameras. All right, I'm going to have to look at the actual project view because there's a lot of them in here. More than enough that will fit on one page. So going down here. Interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here. There's the project. So Core is an open project. Now, to be fair, we just brought on project managers, and they're both underway like in July. And so it is August 15th, halfway through August. My goodness. So we're halfway through August, and they're getting organized over there to like figure out how to delegate and all that. So that is actually internally some movement that's happened in terms of management, because as you all know, we were announcing things and then there was no way of actually delegating those projects out to engineers and making sure that they're being tracked. So now we have a giant CRM projects module that basically governs everything that we do. And that's been very helpful, because not only can the PMs now manage a lot of data in one spot, but department heads can also check in and see where we're at on some things and make sure that is that on the list, or is that bug reported, or all of that. It's all in one place. And that was brought on by recommendation of a guy that's sometimes on the show named Josh Bernstein. So he's usually checking in on Facebook. I haven't seen him over there yet today, but I haven't been watching with an eagle eye either. So we are getting organized. And that unfortunately takes a lot of time. So in regards to Core itself, Core is in here as a project. It does not look like it's been delegated to somebody to like move along, but Core 7 is, until there's an official announcement, then that's what I can say about it. With Dante, we keep getting random audio clicks, even though we check our master clock and dance settings on our old network switch. Haven't tried the new switch yet. Anyone else have this? I'm having a different audio issue with Dante Bridge, but I'm pretty sure I'm doing it wrong. So yeah, I wouldn't ask me, but I'll throw that out to, I meant Dante, not Dance. Yes, I kind of put that together, but I appreciate you correcting it. So, hey, those Core monitors look so handy. I want a couple. Yeah, me too. They'd be great. I would be all about it. Matter of fact, though, I am really enjoying this NDI Telscript teleprompter that I'm using for my main P4K camera. It is pretty slick. And now that I've moved it away from further away across the room, I'm actually looking at the teleprompter, but the camera is right behind my image. And so when I look at you, that's what I'm doing. And that's so stinking cool. I love it. Matter of fact, I could turn the P200, which is that camera you're looking at right now, to show that, but meh. And it's already 11:40. All right, cool. I meant Dante. So yeah, I'll throw that out to the audience. Have you had any issues with random audio clicks, even though the master clock and Dante settings are all good to go? I'm having what sounds like I'm having an issue with audio quality. It sounds like it's like 441 and it's coming into Dante, but there's no way for me to check the audio out on the TriCaster to make sure that's working. So I could have a problem there. And I'm just starting to kind of investigate what's going on there, but thus is my life. Support is basically trying to find answers to problems you have no idea where those problems are. So, whoa, we'll check out that. Let's kill the playlist here real quick and jump over to the heat map. Hey, check this out, everybody. So heat map is underway and people are checking in. That's what that QR code is on the corner of the screen. If you are so inclined, you can scan that and answer 2 simple questions. I don't collect email addresses or anything like that. I don't want to know. What I do want to know is, what country are you in and what's the closest city? And if you hit submit, there will be a little pin, a little green dot that will appear on my heat map. And it's fairly responsive. So it's just Google form. And yeah, it happens pretty quick. So if you have a little cell phone or something, scan that QR code. And then, yeah, check it out. And let me know where you're at. Boom, there's one. So, and it's pretty fast. I don't know what the delay is between like where you're watching it and then how quickly it happens here. But as soon as you hit submit, the screen refreshes for me and it shows me the new data. So always fun to see where you guys are at. And I really appreciate you guys over in New Zealand and Perth staying up late to hang out with us over here in the States. So it is 6 to 7 seconds for me or me. So yeah, 6 or 7 seconds. That's pretty fast. Still cool. I am still working with the Pro AV people over at Netgear and getting my network working with multiple 4250s. I'm receiving my first 4350. Oh man, I'm so stinking jealous. That's awesome. To see if that's the magic switch to make it all work together. What overarching issues are you having with it all working together? It's 3 a.m., John. Why are you still awake? Thanks for hanging out, though. Hopefully there's a real reason for you to stay awake till 3 a.m. I know I'd rarely make it to 3 a.m. I will tell you a little tale that involves me being awake at 3 a.m. After I read this from NetHab. I've noticed that weird clicks when mixing 441 and 48K devices on the same network. And since sending multiple clock packets with different timings, they can conflict. Interesting. Okay, so interesting little story about my... so I went on a trip to Northern Ontario, went camping, and not everybody's a fan of camping. We typically don't take people who, just flat out don't want to go. That would not be fun for anybody, including ourselves, and cruel and unusual punishment. So yeah, we don't want to necessarily drag people into the Northern Ontario boreal forest just to, for some sort of to say we did it. But on last Thursday night, Friday morning, a friend of mine and I met at my house, and we started our journey to Temagami, Ontario. And this journey would take us basically through the night all the way to dinner time the next day. And so at 12:30 on Friday morning, we left my house. We did have to make a little side trip, but that's all good. And we left some time in the schedule to allow for that side trip. And then went to the Canadian border in Port Huron, crossed over there at about 2 a.m., picked up a friend in Kitchener-Waterloo, if you're familiar with the Ontario region, Kitchener-Waterloo area at about 5 or 5:15. We were back on the road at 5:30 at my parents' place to pick up my dad at about 6:30, over to a place where we had some food storage stored in a big fridge and freezer. Picked that up, and we're back on the road by 7. So we were underway at 7, headed northbound for Coldwater, Ontario, which is where my uncle lives. We dropped off my dad. He got in my uncle's vehicle, and then we carpooled up to North Bay from there. North Bay, we were there at about 10:30 or 11, and got some lunch, met up with everybody that was going through the trip, and then continued on from there to Northern Ontario, stopped for gas on the way out of North Bay, and then into Temagami. Now, correction to the story is we didn't drop my dad off. We dropped off the guy that we picked up at Kitchener-Waterloo. He got in the truck with my uncle. My dad drove my truck because I was crashing at that point. So I had been up. I didn't sleep at all. I had been up. I had a 1 hour, 45-minute nap before I got up and got in the truck. But we were, well underway. Started at 12:30. And we were setting up our tents at 5 p.m. on Friday. So I had slept for 45 minutes on Thursday night, leading up to Friday morning. And then I was on the road at 12:30. And then I slept for 45 minutes in the truck between Coldwater and Coldwater and North Bay. So I was running on fumes by the time I got to camp and set up. It was great. We did it. We got in. Everybody was there. We got in safely. No huge hangups or problems. And then that night, is this that photo? So that's late in the trip. So yeah. But anyways, we got in basically to this. So if I cut over to number 5, this was the this is where we ended up. So this is the lake that we camp on, and we've actually purchased this dock. We store it up there, kind of tucked away. But we purchased the dock, and that was in. We had a couple of guys that were already into camp at that point, so they had put that in for us, and then we load in, and then we spend the week on this lake right here. and this is where we camp. So it was great. I had a good little getaway. My phone actually works up there, but you have to purposefully stay off of your phone because life is still going on outside of that. But we had a good chance to hang out, do some fishing and whatever. I had a pretty good time in my kayak, so that's me fishing. Actually, I think I was out in a canoe in this instance, but I did some kayaking with my yellow kayak that I have. I don't know, I'm sure I've talked about that on this show before, but yeah, genuinely just had a few good days up there camping and fishing and hanging out with a bunch of really good guys. So it's really good. It was well worth the trip. I had a lot of fun, and that's where I was. But I can sympathize a little bit with your insomnia over there on Facebook, because some say dedication, some say insomnia. Some may not say dedication, some might say insanity, but that's potato. It's only a few letters difference. But anyways, so that was me up at 3 a.m. and drove through the night, did most of the driving, but I actually prefer doing that. And had a great week. So I'm not a huge fan of tent camping, but we have a 3/4 ton Suburban and the modest travel trailer. We camped outside the venue for my big event last week, and that was good fun. Excellent. I like tent camping. I'm a hammock camper now, so I took a Hennessy hammock this year and just left my gear outside, in dry bags and stuff. But then camped in a hammock, and it was great. I slept. It's probably because I was exhausted, but I slept great. So I just wanted to use the heat map. Well, you came to the right place, because the heat map is here. So well done. Glad that we could help out. You need more than 45 minutes sleep a night. You watch ends. It was a great time. We had a good time. Let me see here. Okay, back up here. So Bugzeek, what's going on, Bugzeek? How are you? So I've been having issues with the BirdDog Mini. Our projector keeps blinking, and looking at the Mini, it keeps going from 59.94 and then back to 60. Any ideas why what this might be? I know Dan and CJ are looking into it. I wanted to hear your take. Okay, so you have a projector that's decoding, and it keeps switching the source from 59.94 to 60. Two things. Have you tried turning it? Oh, no, I'm kidding. Have you tried to manually set the resolution on the Mini to only accept 1080, whatever it is that you're 1080p 60, instead of leaving it in auto? Typically, when that happens, if you're decoding to a projector, the projector's not doing any like EDID stuff, right? So you need to basically double check the source isn't changing. What's the source that you're sending it at? vMix? Or double check that, because there's not much difference. There's just one frame difference between 59.94 and 60. And if it's receiving a signal that's not consistent, it will do that. If you set it manually, it will only accept a source that's 60 and output 60, which would save your projector from blinking, like to doing like a blue screen or whatever. But then it might still drop the source, and then we know that the issue is happening at the source level, where the source is changing from 59.94 to 60. I run a Mini in the other office, and it doesn't have this issue where it switches. The source never changes. It's a Raspberry Pi calendar using DACboard.com. But it's a Raspberry Pi calendar, and it outputs 1080p 60 all the time. It never changes. But I never have any like blinking issues with it. Never have any blinking issues with it. So it's got to be careful what you emphasize there. Wait a minute. What's the story here? This isn't right. Okay, so so it shouldn't be changing on its own, but that should definitely be a ticket if you have that going on. In decode, there's not like an EDID manager or anything that you need. Like you don't need a pass through or anything like that. That won't help you. So be interesting to know. Oh yeah, and we have a Facebook post in the user group. Anyway, yeah, it could be the source is changing and that's causing a chain reaction. But perhaps manually setting the decode output on the Mini would stop the projector from dropping, like and going through a cycle. Yeah, you'd have to troubleshoot a little bit to find out where the actual issue is. What's the source though? That's my question. Before my school was able to install fiber between switches, I'm still needing to plug in copper. So we're trying to bump up the data from 1 gig to 2.5, 5, or 10 gigs into the school's network and to my new remote control room. The 4350 is that switch that has the multi-gig connections. Man, it's so exciting. Yes, it does, and I'm very anxious to see its performance. Steve Wallace, who I mentioned on the last stream, is a Hennessy hammock fan. Boom. I'd love to try one. Yeah, I have found that the fan base for Hennessy hammock is very polarized. So you either love them or you hate them. There is no like in the middle ground. I had a guy whose son bought him one, and he was in his, at the time, early 70s, and he was just like, I find I can't get out of it, so I don't like it. And I found that I prefer, it's a little difficult to get in and out of it, but it's well worth the wait. I trade 17 pounds. Okay, so my other hammock is basically a tensile tent. It's a 3-point tent that you hang between trees. It's 20 pounds. And the Hennessy hammock is like 3 pounds in the box. And then the things I've added makes it like 3.5 pounds. And it comes in like this bag that's like tiny. I love it. It's great. And I will gladly trade all that weight for the, anyway, for having a tent. It's just preferred. So it's Pro Presenter. Oh, that's interesting. Pro Presenter. Yeah, I won't throw Renewed Vision under the bus here because I don't have, they're doing well with what they've got. My concern with them is they're still developing their NDI output too. With Pro Presenter, why are you outputting 1080p 60? Are you doing a lot of live video through Pro Presenter, or is it just slides? Because it's set to 1080p 60. Because with Pro Presenter, if you're doing just words, then it could just be 30. And that would be a lot easier on your projector. If you're doing a lot of video, like if you're feeding cameras back to Pro Presenter and that's being shown as IMAG, then whatever. If it's live video, then you would need the 60 or potentially could need 60. But I find Pro Presenter's sweet spot is 1080p 30 personally. Just from my experience, 1080p 30 is basically where they get optimal performance on their outputs, and also, anyways, I'd be curious to know if you had that same issue if you change the output to 30. No cameras, just slides and video. Then try 1080. Okay, this could be a bug. Okay, you could have found something. I don't know. But I do know from a Pro Presenter side, even the guys at Pro Presenter, the gist I get from them is 1080p 30 is their sweet spot. That's ideal for slides and video. If you're doing like video jump backs, or you're doing, recorded testimonials or whatever it is that you're doing, then Pro Presenter sweet spot is 1080p 30. And a lot of those videos will be rendered to 2997 or 24 with any luck. So you may not need 60 frames. But if you want 60 frames, not to say that we shouldn't figure out what's going on here, just saying, the impression I've always gotten from Pro Presenter is 1080p 30 is kind of what they would tell everybody to use. I've run into some modern projectors that won't take 1080p 30 or 60. 1080i 5994 is all that they will accept. Modern projectors that only take 1080i 5994. Good golly. We tried that and it made it worse. Wow, how did it make it worse? Like it switched more often? That's fascinating. What about what about monitoring the stream then in Studio Monitor out of ProPresenter, making sure that it's consistent? That's very strange because all of the installations that I run at are 1080p 30, and I don't have that issue. Could be the Mini. I mean, the Mini could be having trouble and keep swapping between those two frame rates, but it doesn't. Yeah, what made it worse? I'd be curious to know. Yeah. Yeah, enough to be a high lumen laser projector. It's very okay. Ugh. Yuck. Interlaced. Just say no to interlaced. That's what I want. I need a mug that says that. Just say no to interlaced. I understand people need it, televisions, yada, 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 whatever. But yuck. Interlaced just looks so bad. Such a bad image. Ugh. Okay, in Studio Monitor, it's fine there. Something is happening either to the stream to cause the Mini to think that it needs to change, or out of the Mini that's causing the projector to think that the resolution needs to change. Oh, excuse me. The coffee is not working. Oh, good. Angus agrees that interlaced should be printed on just say no to interlaced should be on my mug. I could get like a sticker. Ooh, I could totally make a sticker that says just say no to interlaced and put it on my Ember mug. Be a great idea. Changing the frame made it worse. Curious to know what like it started failing or changing resolutions faster. I mean, it could be the Mini output, I guess. If you set it all to manual, though, including the projector, like if the projector keeps adjusting, then maybe you need to go in and set the projector to manually only accept 1080p 59.9 or 1080p 60 and see if that locks it. You know, don't give it the option to change if it's always the same Mini plugged into that projector and you don't need it to change. But yeah, I would stop the automatic functions at that point just to see if it got more consistent, because the NDI feed's not changing, and so it shouldn't change anything with the Mini. When you changed it to 30, it's now swapping between 30 and 60 instead. Oh, you know what? I wonder. What is the screensaver resolution of the BirdDog Mini? Is it 5994 or 60? I can't remember. What is the screensaver resolution? Because it sounds to me like 60, 1080p 60 is the screensaver resolution. And so it's losing the NDI feed, or it's dropping the NDI feed for some reason and then reacquiring it. And so it's going from 30 to 60, or it's going from 5994 to 60. But 60 may be the screensaver, and 59.9 is 59.94. Oh, you're outputting 1080p 60. Plus, we have sent them into you a few times. So you didn't find anything wrong with them. Interesting. Yeah, we would have tested them on multiple resolutions. Ooh, and I would have tested them with ProPresenter more than likely, because I run a pseudo copy of ProPresenter here. Watching you both on Facebook and YouTube, I get them synced, and then they just differ over time. YouTube is slightly delayed. Well, that shouldn't surprise anybody. But Facebook is ahead? That's strange. Thanks for checking in both spots. Just drive up that viewer count. I'm all about that. It doesn't really mean a whole lot, but thanks for doing that anyways. It's really cool. Hey, and we can also jump over here to the heat map. Heat map is where it's at. And this is where everybody's checking in from these days. thank you so much to everybody who scanned that little QR code. This is where the bird dog viewership is. Somebody in New Zealand, he gets the dot twice for some reason because, this heat map is not necessarily the most sophisticated thing, but he's in Wellington there, and then Wellington shows up on this side as well. But it's the same dot, so don't be confused. But here we go. Princeton, New Jersey, Lubbock, Texas. I know who that is. Los Angeles, San Jose, Portland, Oregon, Seattle. Ooh, what's this? We got Red Deer, and we've got Edmonton, Alberta. So very cool that we got two folks over in Alberta checking in. All good. Aberdeen, London. Is this Phil? Who's in London? Nobody in Russia. Nobody wants to hang out. I guess they're all busy right now. That's a shame. So too soon? I would love it if people from we used to have a really good relationship with a distributor in Russia who did a lot of business for us over there. They've had to go dark for a while, so we haven't had a lot of contact with them. But hopefully one day things will settle down and we'll all be able to have our friends back on the show. Okay, back to this screen now. That is a little strange, though, that the time sync is off. So I wonder. Okay, so my gut feeling says that our BirdDog screensaver on the Mini is 59.94. Wouldn't explain why it's switching between 30 and 60. It would explain why it's switching from 59.94 to 60. That it's dropping the NDI feed and falling back to the screensaver. If you were to change it to 30, I would assume it would change between 30 and 59.94 because 59.94 is the screensaver resolution. So it would, fall back between the two. If you are getting the same result from two different resolutions, if that's true, then I would suspect that there is an issue with the Mini acquiring and holding the NDI feed from the ProPresenter machine. Do you have this issue with any other NDI sources? Like if you were to send a camera source directly to the Mini, does it drop? If it does, okay, then it's isolated more closer to the Mini or the connection to the network to the Mini. But if you don't, and it's only the ProPresenter output, then I would be curious about how ProPresenter is connected to your network. Are there multiple NICs on the machine that's running ProPresenter? If there are, what might be happening is ProPresenter might be not knowing how to prioritize between the multiple NICs. That could cause this issue, especially if it's random. All right. So if you have Wi-Fi connected, for example, to ProPresenter, and you have a hardline connected to ProPresenter, that may cause this issue where ProPresenter doesn't know which network to put it on, or which network, even if they're on the same network, that may not know which card to send it out. So that might be causing the issue of it dropping and then reacquiring because it's switching between networks, perhaps. I want to know if the problem persists with a different NDI source. That I too want to know if this persists. That would be where I would go with this next. If you connect another NDI source, does it continue to have an issue? Okay, I am going to just real quick run a quick little commercial for Snacks on Stream because I do have something to try today while we finish up the rest of the show. So Snacks on Stream, also known as John Eats Parts of His Lunch.
John's just making up stuff to start drama.
Look, I don't know.
Look at him.
Wish me luck, folks. It's my first Vegemite experience.
Final, this is like cheese flavor or something. It doesn't really look too appetizing. Good golly, this is something else, man.
Here's the thing about Pop Rocks, and I don't know if I'm the only one like this. Pop Rocks have always been a social experience for me.
I did not think that is what you were going to say. That's hilarious.
That is awful. Oh, God, that's so bad. Jeez. Holy smokes, man.
Yep. It is that time again. Snacks on Stream, a.k.a. John Eats Part of His Lunch. And today we have Clancy's fried pickle ranch flavored wavy potato chips. That is a bit of a mouthful. And so they are gluten free, oddly enough. And yeah, we're going to give it a go. So let's see how this goes. And I'm always interested. I bet you their name is on here somewhere. Contains bioengineered food. Well, that's fun. Oh, Aldi. It's Aldi that these were purchased from. So here we go. Bioengineered potato chips. Let's have a little look-see and see how this goes. And back to the chat. I'll check tomorrow. Okay, sounds good. Okay, so these interesting. About 12 chips is 150 calories, but it comes with 2 grams of protein and 16 grams of carbs. 1 gram of dietary fibers, 1 gram of total sugars, and less than 1 gram of added sugars. That's not too bad. Where do the 16 grams of carbs come from, though, I wonder? These are excellent. This is like, fried pickle ranch flavor. It definitely has a... Well, first of all, I keep hitting this poor microphone. First of all, it has this like generous coating of whatever it is that is on here. But this reminds me of dill pickle chips back in the 90s in Canada. That's what this tastes like. The ranch, I don't know about. I may. It's one of the recommendations was we could dip these in ranch, and that is true. That would go well with this chip. But these are a very rich dill pickle flavor. But what I like about these chips is that they're rock solid. They have like a really good like crunch to them. They actually take effort to break. Whereas traditional like Lay's dill pickle chips from Ontario, from Canada, are very thin, so much so that you can like see through them. These are not that. These are very crunchy and yeah, really good. So big fan. Well done. Supposed to taste like fried pickles, and they do. I don't know about the ranch part, but they definitely taste like dill pickle chips. Hey, what's that colorful, shiny Stream Deck thing that's sitting on your desk? Which one? I got 2 of them. This one or the black one? Because the black one is a Stream Deck. This one is an X Keys. And if you don't know about X Keys, oh, I'm sorry, Laura, you can't see that. This one is a Stream Deck. This one is an X Keys. This is mostly my whoops-a-daisy. This is mostly my soundboard.
Excellent.
But the other one is an X Keys, and that's a lot of fun. Certainly you know what an X Keys is, right? We've only talked about it at great length on this show. And Angus will convert you to an X Keys user if you're not already. But the guy that really sold it for me was, of course, Tom St. Clair, who has an X Keys 80. And yeah, he uses it to do all sorts of things on his vMix show. So I owned this before I was a BirdDog employee. And then when I came here, they're like, oh yeah, X Keys. And I was like, I have one of those. So then I started monkeying around with it. Yeah, I started monkeying around with it. And it is pretty awesome. You should try Ridgie's Burstin' Onion Chips. Can you get them in the States? I have never heard of them, but I'm sure Amazon can work its magic. I got a roll getting radio calls for room at work. I'll watch the rest of the stream later. Hey, Bugsy, it's always a pleasure. Thank you for coming by. You belong here, that's for sure. X Keys, I know nothing. How is that possible? Wait, you don't know anything about X Keys, or you just didn't recognize that it was an X Keys? Do you not know what X Keys are? Because like, I will go into the dissertation right now. I'd be happy to tell you what X Keys are. That's for sure. The most powerful controller, physical keys Nice feel. If you ever come through Edmonton, reach out. You can try mine out. Will do. Okay, so here's an interesting thing. I had somebody purchase just an X Keys strip. It was not the same punchy feel that my X Keys 24 is. It was like a soft button. And I didn't like that change. I like my physical, like it's not a click, but it's definitely you feel it push down. So it was getting votes for the dissertation. Yeah, it's definitely a different feel when you are pressing it, which is fine. I just kind of would like to, I like mine. I like this one. Okay, so X Keys, what is it? And what are we even talking about here? Well, X Keys is made from a company called Pi Engineering, the no-name slogan, the no slogan company. I don't know why that's their slogan, but it is. Anyways, X Keys is basically a programmable keyboard, but you can use them as like MIDI buttons, you can use them as keyboard buttons, you can use them as shortcuts, you can do a whole bunch of things with it. Comes with a little piece of programming that helps you program the board, but then you upload that file to the X Keys, and then that's what that thing does. So it's essentially a programmable keyboard that you can sequence buttons to do. And it's a pretty handy thing to have when you have a shortcut heavy infrastructure, which is what vMix basically is. So I'm like talking head here. So it's very helpful. And then they make a whole bunch of like custom designs that help you interact with production switching. Another field that these are heavily used in is day trading, where you got to get in and out of trades really fast. And so you can preset these buttons to do certain things like buy 1,000, sell 1,000, whatever. You just push a button and it does a whole sequence of events where, on a lot of day trading software, you'd have to go and like type in all the fields that you want done. This, you can program a single button to do a certain numerical value and go quickly. So you can just load it and then hit buy or hit sell or whatever it is that you want to do. It speeds up that process. So yeah, a lot of things that you can purchase here. I have the 24, which is listed here on this it's this one right here. And that has red and green LEDs inside, which you can program, to light up as needed. But then I just use clear label tape to make custom labels for each of them. And I've also purchased the little $20 metal stand that it comes with, so that it can come with, by the way, right here. And that helps it stand up so I can see it on my desk. They come with like little riser feet, which is okay, but it's not great when you're looking across the table and you need to know which button to press. So I have my record button set on this through vMix. I have my mute button set to that, which I sometimes hit and then go silent. But I can also trigger overlays in vMix, so that if I want to show certain things or I can create overlays, I can fire that. Those overlays are on timers, so they clear on their own. I don't have to worry about pressing it again or forgetting about clearing it or all that. It's all done automatically. I can turn on my playlist, which cycles through my cameras through a button, and I have an on and an off button for that function, so that I know, for example, when I'm finishing the show and I go to a commercial and then the end screen, it's not going to cycle a camera back in. But yeah, you can program that. I can jump between cameras. So I have my program feed is actually automatically set to do that. So this is the main camera. This is program 1. But if I go to program 5, it takes me back to this. I can also load these screens into preview. So if I want to like load camera 2, which is a P200, into this, and then I want to fade over to that one, I can call the show, and it's just all done with my left hand. So now you can see what I'm up to here, and I'm going to change it to camera 1. I've loaded that into preview, and then I'm going to fade over to that camera, and I basically don't even have to look at it to do it. And I have transition buttons programmed, so a fade or a cut, those are all done as well right here on X Keys, right at my fingertips. So I don't have to navigate back over to vMix, load this into preview, and then fade. I can just call those cameras as is right here on my camera and then change those things all on my own. So it makes vMix way more versatile, because I have a whole set of, preview and program buttons, inputs that are set for that function. And then if I need to just jump over to something real fast, I know that preview or program 5 is my shared desktop view. And so I can jump over to that real quick, and it takes no effort at all to load that out. So good stuff. So I love my little X keys for this purpose. One-man band show, it's so fast. I can see all my cameras inside vMix. I can see all my cameras, and so I know which are which, and I can even label them the same as they're labeled on my X keys. And so that if I need to jump to camera 3, I can just do that quickly. But X keys gives you that option. Now, they also make much bigger products. So this is great, but I want to have like a master controller. Okay, they make a 60 and an 80. Oh, wait, that's not the 80. They have a 60 and an 80, which is here. And then they have the 128, which is a monster. And they have also T-bar options. Now, just to go back to a conversation I was having before, this was the stick that I bought, the 8. These buttons are different than these buttons. And I don't know why, but they are. So they don't have the nice click. I want that. It's not the end of the world, but they're just a different feel. So there you go. Okay, then there are also these like T-bar options. So you can buy T-bar modules, as I understand it, but you can also buy this little like setup that has T-bars and has a jog option, especially if you're doing a lot of like video editing and stuff. You can program all of this to work with DaVinci Resolve or Final Cut or whatever it is that you're using. Yeah, it's a really slick idea, and it's applicable in a lot of places. So yeah, I'm quite happy with this. If you're into sports, they make a whole set of them that work great for running clocks and all that. And as you saw, their prices are comparable to a Stream Deck, but it's a much more basic product. Okay, like not in terms of sophistication, but just in terms of like what it is. It's a little panel that lights up LED, but I find it to be way more integratable with vMix than other options. And let me demonstrate that, because I want you to see kind of how I have this set up, just to kind of, if I haven't sold you already on this idea, let's take a look at my vMix settings. I have a couple of open buttons that I'm not using right now, and so we can program one of those to do a specific function. Okay, so we're going to cut over here. This is the vMix settings, right? And inside here, we are going to talk about shortcuts. And what this is, like I said, it's kind of a programmable keyboard, but it's basically MIDI buttons. And so we can say add a button, and we're going to say find a button. And I'm going to press this one that I'm not using. And it says MIDI note channel 1, note 16, velocity 0. That's fine. That is the button that I just pressed. I said find, and I pressed the button. And then it discovered that. And then it says, what function do you want for this button? Like, what do you want it to do? And so maybe I want to pull an input. And, you know, there's all sorts of commands in here that you can pick. Or maybe I want it to fire an overlay, or maybe I want it to start a playlist. Maybe I have a custom script I want it to run. Maybe I want it to fire like a replay command, or I want it to do a PTZ function. And so I could, you know, set a couple of these to do up, down, or left, right, or preset 1. Like if preset 1 is my, if preset 1 is my home position for the P4K, maybe I just want to, you know, preset 1 for this camera. So last preset, whoops a daisy, load last preset, open preset. I can also, like I said, write a bunch of custom functions. I can manipulate all the audio options. So if I need to like do something with audio, I can do that. I could fire a transition, so I could do a wipe. Here, let's do one of these like super cheesy. So this is gonna be my wipe effect. I want it to change it to preview, whatever's in the preview value, and I'm just gonna hit OK. So now you can see that I'm gonna fire this transition, and it's gonna transition whatever was in preview over to program. So that's what that button is. And I could even, let me pull up my overhead shot here. Oh, whoops. Let me pull up my overhead headshot so you can see this. And so this is that new button that I programmed. Notice that it's not lit up. Well, I guess you can't really see too well. It's not lit up because I haven't programmed it. But if I hit that button, that's the transition. So it's really simple to set up. I'm going to delete that one because I don't want it to be wipe because I hate wipe. But it's a really simple idea where you can program MIDI buttons to do a certain set of commands, and it's super simple directly inside vMix. Now, that's not to say that there are not other programs that also don't work natively with it. And so there are lots of options out there. Whoops. There are lots of options out there. Where's this one? Let's see here. The 120, the one that is super popular is the 124, and it is a monster. Let me go here. Products, keyboards. Where is it here? Is it this one? The 128? Oh, you're probably thinking like Angus had said, show the T-bar one. Okay, so analog controls, T-bar, 124 with the T-bar. Okay, so let's show this one. So this is that behemoth that basically has a T-bar for smooth transitions and whatever. And you can purchase, particular labels so you can color them all and everything. But this is a monster of a, if we could run a video, do we have one that shows? I'm going to mute the audio on this. The input smackdown? What does that mean? So yeah, single round one email address. So you can just put in your email real quick. Took one button. I love how they timed it. That's great. Resize world's cutest puppy. This is great. This is such a slam on workflow. But yeah, you can program it to do all sorts of stuff. So they're like a soft press mechanical keyboard. Yeah. Can you use the TriCaster macros with it? It might be better than my Stream Deck. You definitely can use the TriCaster macros. And central control is, yeah, you can integrate it that way. The T-bar, that's the really cool one. Show the 124. So this is just a video about all this, by the way. Yeah, it's probably a depth issue. It is, I think, which is what gives it that soft touch, but whatever. Let's load this out. So that's fun. I had endless trouble with my Stream Deck, and I'm not interested in going down that road again. Cool. I use central control with a Stream Deck, but find some days it's all messed up. I may need one of these. Central control really brings the X keys to life. Joe DeMax has some excellent videos about them. 124, that's the one. That is the one. Let me put that back up here on the screen because I really like the 80. Like if I was to like go insane with this, I would buy the 80 next because I love my 24, and I could just use more. I could just use more buttons at this point, which you could always use more buttons. But yeah, the T-bar one's really cool. Me personally, I don't have a use for a T-bar. I generally am fine with adjusting the speeds of like on their own, but the 80 is so stinking cool. It's just kind of pricey. And so I would love to get something like this with all these options and just have it sitting here on my desk as like my and I like once the show starts, I could get rid of this thing, because you could program everything that I do. Then I would only need this for the Mac, I guess. I could run it on the Mac. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Can you swap out the underlying switches for some sweet Cherry MX Blues? No idea. Maybe. I work with a producer who sometimes calls for slow fades. So you would need that manual. Yeah, and the on-screen thing is useless. So that's a great reason to have the that's a great reason to have the T-bar. Fade. So yeah, there's that. But I'm a big fan. And Laura, I mean, hey, if you have just found out about X Keys due to this show, that means that today's purpose has been fulfilled, and that's good stuff. Also, as we're kind of winding down here, I do recommend these. So if you're in Aldi's and you want to pick up some fried pickled chips with ranch flavoring, I have a really good crunch. Go for it. Uh-oh. Stream Deck says that my connection is unstable. Oh, boy. That's got to be my internet. I wonder. Maybe it's got to be our internet connection. That's struggle bussing. Let me see if I'm still live over. Yep. Okay. I am live on YouTube, but it's pretty pixelated. So sorry if I drop off, folks. But I do recommend these crunchy chips. They're great. And very flavorful. So shout out to Aldi. You did it right. It's definitely unstable. Fantastic. Great. Well, now it says it's back. Who knows? Okay, so welcome back, everybody. I am indeed back in the office, and I plan to be doing shows from here on in. I don't have any expected Tuesday, Thursdays where I'll be out of the office. And so I do have some trips planned, but they're more weekend stuff. So we will be we'll be back in action for our regular scheduled program. And on Thursday, we will be back to chat a little bit more. I need to get back to some themed shows because I need to start getting some content back up on my site. So I'm going to put my brain towards that. Perhaps we need to do an actual education on X Keys, and or maybe I'll just cut that up and use that. We should probably talk about X Keys a little bit more and workflow stuff. I'm also going to be in the process of moving my office into this studio, and so I'm going to come out of my office and come into here because all the stuff is in here, and this is where I work out of, and I wouldn't mind being in here. So, that's next on my to-do list, as well as an educational course that I'm putting together. Should be done by the end of the year for the general public, but we're working specifically for some of our tiered resellers so that they'll be better educated when they sell you products. They'll have more knowledge about bird dog stuff. So I'm working on that right now. That is basically my primary function. That's what I'm up to, and answering hundreds of emails. But, thus is apparently what work is all about, is more and more bulk. So can't wait for that. But guys, I'm super thankful that you've joined me and that you didn't abandon me while I was gone gallivanting through Northern Ontario for a week. Really happy to have you guys back with us and hanging out, doing a little chatting here on the NDI realm. And so, we're back. We're good to go, and looking forward to the rest of August. We're halfway done. So don't forget to take a breath and look outside and enjoy some of the scenery because it's flying by, especially if you're here in the northwestern hemisphere. I never know. But yes, so let's take one more quick look at our heat map. Thank you, everybody who participated in this little fun game. It's always a blast to hang out and see where you are all checking in from. Shout out to my friends over in Perth and New Zealand. Always a pleasure to have you on. But everybody else who's checking in, it's the end of the day over in London and Scotland. So cool stuff to have you guys along for the ride. And of course, our folks here in the US and in Canada, thanks for checking in. So always a pleasure. Thanks for bringing up your bird dog comments and inquiries, concerns. Hopefully I did some of those questions a little bit of justice, but that is what this show is all about, is for you and for me to learn and to forge for information and find out together. We are real people over here at Bird Dog Support, I promise you. But with that being said, don't hesitate to reach out to my guys at help@birddog.tv. I have 3 agents that work either remotely or here in the office that work diligently to answer as much of those tickets as we possibly can. And if you submit a ticket, I promise you we'll try our best to get back to you in a reasonable amount of time. We do handle global tickets. And so we get lots of requests all the time for, well, I'd really prefer you to have this method of contact, or I'd really like it if you would do this instead of have email. Look, I understand. I have limited resources. I have to do what's best for the whole world. And the whole world really can only adhere to email or maybe like a chat bot. So if you want me to get a chat bot up and running, we're working on that actually. But, in the meantime, I've got 3 amazing agents that manage the help desk tickets. Clay is in charge of that group. Okay. Senseless. And then Jess and Christian Frink. And those 3 do the bulk of when you send in an email to help@birddog.tv, one of them is going to at least handle the ticket. Okay. If it's a pre-sales question, we'll send it to pre-sales. But if it's something that we're going to do, they're going to look after you. So, and if they can't figure it out, they're going to ask the inspections guy, or they're going to ask repairs. And if they can't figure it out, they're going to come to me. So we will work with you, and in support, the buck stops with me. So I get it. I understand. I also understand. I'm fully aware that it is not necessarily everyone's favorite thing to do is to email, but it is the way that we can manage the whole world's requests when it comes to BirdDog support. So hang in with us. And also Angus is anti-chatbot. So for the human element of BirdDog support, I want you to do me a big giant favor and go over and subscribe to BirdDogJon.tv, because that is this show. That's everything I do here. This is live. I'm not screwing around. This isn't a pre-recorded thing. I promise you, come to the show, ask your questions. If you really need me to talk to you directly, this is a great place to do it. I promise you, I will read the chat. I don't ignore anything unless it's vulgar or out of line or it's going to get me fired. I don't read those things in the chat, but everything else I put up here. All right. So we try and go through all of this stuff and provide an opportunity for people to learn. Also, you may not be the only person in the world with that question. So like you might ask it, and somebody who watches the show or watches it after might benefit from you asking the question. So by all means, please do that. Hey, sweet education is always good. Thanks for a great show, Laura. It's a pleasure. You're so kind and generous with your compliments that please come back. You too, Angus. Hey, thanks for the show, John. Always good fun. I agree. And humans only, please. So the human only piece is right here. And also at help@birddog.tv. I've got 3 people. I don't have a call center. I don't have a place where your ticket goes into the abyss. It's here in Auburn Hills, Michigan. All right. That's where I work. And that's where those guys work. And that's where inspections in the US happen. Okay. So we're here. We want to make this a different experience than what you're used to with ticketing systems in big corporations that really don't care. All right. That's not what we're doing. But I do have to run a global operation. So email is the best way for us to manage all of those requests and to be sure that you're treated with the same level of importance as everybody else. And so please send in your ticket. We'll try and get back to you as soon as we can. If you send it at end of day, we'll be in touch with you probably in the morning. But my guys are so good at what they do. I promise you, you'll have a different experience if you email us at, say it together now, help@birddog.tv. Of course, join me here twice a week at Overlay 1, BirdDogJon.tv. This is a great place to be, and we are definitely here twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, unless I'm on PTO, Tuesdays and Thursdays to hang out and have some fun from 11 o'clock Eastern Time, U.S. onward. So today we went to 12:30, had a good time. So thank you so much, everybody, for chiming in. Thanks for running the chat and being sure that I'm not just sitting here talking to myself, which I'm also comfortable doing, by the way. But thanks for hanging out and making this interesting for everybody. So it has been a pleasure. Be sure, ladies and gentlemen, that you're taking care of yourselves, stay in good health, do whatever it is that is required for you to remain in good health. But take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. It's super important. We don't hear enough of that messaging in this world. And so I want to use this opportunity to remind you that people are dealing with all sorts of stuff that you have no idea. And so treat each other kindly and look after each other, and we'll all be better for it in the end. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you in a couple days on Thursday at 11 o'clock Eastern Time, right back here. I plan to have a show, unless otherwise noted. So come and hang out again. You belong here. And I hope that you'll join us again. Take care, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Kid, you tried your best and you failed miserably. The lesson is never try.